Welcome to the Holistic Career Change Podcast, one-stop shop for everyone feeling stuck in their career and who are looking to identify, change, and succeed at their new fulfilling work. I'm your host, Vilma. Let's go. Hi, all. Gosh, it's been a while, hasn't it? I missed you so much. I feel like I'm that friend that randomly just appears out of nowhere and I'm like, hey, how are you? How are you all doing? How are you, my beautiful career changers and purpose seekers? I am doing really well. Thank you. I have been coaching a lot in my one-on-one practice, and I am just quite literally in awe on a daily basis, seeing so many shifts and transformations that are happening right now. And I feel just honored and humbled to be part of the unfolding of these gorgeous souls that are my clients. And actually, as I am using these words, I've been thinking about words lately because they hold so much power, especially when these words are formed in sentences that hold a certain meaning. Words can free us, and words can, just in the same fashion, jail us and even create inner resistance. Say the word work. I don't know about you, but I think generally it has such a negative connotation for many of us. So if you ask me, when I hear the word work, my chest gets heavy. It feels arduous, hard to bear. It feels boring. It feels long. And let's just say it just does not induce any endorphins for me when I hear the word work. And having said that, though, I'm aware that all of us have our own unique dictionary of associations, but I'd say in general, if we take the word work or the word labor and look at the history of it, after I did some research trying to figure out why I don't find this word attractive at all, I was so surprised to find that words indicating labor, at least in most of the European languages, are often synonymous with compulsion, torment, affliction, and persecution. What? For example, in French language, the word travail, or the Spanish trabajo, I probably just butchered it. I'm so sorry. I don't speak either of those languages. And just like its English equivalent, are actually derived from Latin trapaleare, or to torture and to inflict suffering or agony. And in the same way, the German Arbeit suggests effort, hardship, and suffering, and is also linked to some of the Slavic languages that I'm more familiar with, where robota sounds very similar to the English word robot. That's the word that I also struggle to pronounce, as you know, if you listen to one of my podcasts. What? To torture, to persecute, to suffer agony, this is what work means to so many of us. And actually, we even have the history of the word to show for it. So no wonder we don't like going to work. It's essentially saying going to get my dose of torment for the day. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, right? Or am I? What sort of associations does the word work bring to you? Investigate, because whatever thoughts we will be attaching to the word work, we will also be creating a feeling in our bodies. And if you are dreading it, feeling tired of just the mere thought of going to work, the chances are that the thoughts that you're having surrounding your work currently are very low quality, right? And when you investigate that, also ask yourself, what word would you like to use instead right now? As you're starting to literally redesign your authentic self-expression. You choosing the word that would lift you up is available for you now. You don't even have to change career yet in order to start reshaping your vocabulary. I remember when I just started coaching, I just could not for the life of me bring myself to call coaching work. I just could not. So I started referring to my coaching practice as a hobby, okay? A made-up word. That is, I loved coaching so much. It felt like a hobby, and getting paid for engaging in an activity that I would do essentially for fun. So my friend and I came up with a hobby, which is work and hobby. So I'd say something like, listen, I'll call you in a few hours. I'm about to wobby for a bit. And I've heard variations of it like hork, but I'm not sure I dig hork though. It's like hobby and work, hork. Yeah, I don't know about that one. But words are so very powerful. And that I'm all like really prone to all things magical. And I do 100% believe that there is a reason why in English language, at least, to describe the process of writing letters of a word, we refer to as spelling, a spell. But the same goes for our in our dialogues and how we speak with ourselves. What spells do we use on ourselves, right? That is really interesting to explore, but also when we start getting awareness on that, we can literally transform the reality and the results that we're creating. And this actually beautifully segues us into the topic for today's episode. A lot of our thoughts we have surrounding career change are completely unquestioned. We have them in our head and we report them as news. And if we believe that something is 100% true, it feels like a legitimate constraint, right? We just feel limited. And if we feel limited by a constraint, we will not be taking any action. We will say we want to change, but when the time really comes, we will start procrastinating, going back to all of our autopilot behaviors in order to avoid dealing with something we perceive as difficult, something we perceive as a constraint. So months and even years sometimes will pass by and we'll be puzzled and we'll say, but I want to live differently, but I feel like I just can't. For instance, one of my clients is a creative at her core. She loves generating ideas, she loves aesthetics, she loves art, and she has a highly entrepreneurial spirit, okay? However, for years and years, she used to be stuck in this pattern. She'd get like a super original, creative, artsy idea for a business. She'd start implementing it and she'd like literally get almost immediate success. And then quickly thereafter, she'd just start having issues, usually money and financially related issues like, with her vendors, people will start owing her money, partners would betray her, like rinse and repeat all over again, to the point where she started getting really, really discouraged and started even questioning her blueprint. She was like, am I even supposed to do anything that's creative? I just seem to fail over and over again. And when we started examining her belief system, we found that there are some really juicy limiting beliefs 100% running the show. Okay, it's not juicy for her, it's juicy for me because I love this. So the most prevalent one was her having this internalized, very specific remark her mother had made, and those remarks, there are several of them, had become essentially her unquestioned truth. It became part of her MO that she never questioned. So these were thoughts like, you can't create a legit business selling art. You need to get a respectable profession. Stop playing around with art. It's not serious. If you continue playing around like that, you will remain poor. These like heavy judging thoughts. And there are probably more of those that she had internalized so much so that it had become an unquestioned belief, part of the model of her world and part of her identity, right? She didn't truly believe that her spending time on creating these businesses, having creative pursuits are ever going to make her money. And she was creating that in her life. And while her raw talent and drive would allow her to essentially ride the wave of this initial momentum and excitement, having this belief system, the new business was doomed to fall apart eventually, every single time. And she was so tired of having these unsustainable results, and she could not understand what was happening. And it had completely crushed her to the point where she started seeking for a regular employment in an office. Even if that literally felt like a death sentence for her, she was like, listen, I can't do this anymore, right? And when I asked her why she thought her businesses at this point failed, she responded, straight face and all. She told me, because working with art is not serious. And then I asked her, well, what's your definition of not serious? She said, well, it's just not tangible. I said, okay, so all of these famous contemporary artists that you love and you follow, who get paid handsomely for their work, who have like exhibitions traveling around the world, they have a waiting list of people waiting to get a piece of their artwork, and they also have a substantial bank account to show for it. None of that is tangible, correct? Silence. She was like, oh, wait, that is tangible. I was like, yes, it is. And then she goes that she felt like her brain was exploding because she sincerely said she didn't even know she could choose to think like that, choose to think supportive thoughts and seek for evidence in the world to prove that they are true. She just had not earned the skill of questioning her thoughts. It was so true that she literally looked around and looked for those failing artists, right, for that archetype, looked for proof for that in her immediate environment to continue to reinforcing her limiting belief that art is not serious. And when I literally showed her examples of actual real people having success and financial rewards, and the success is sustainable because they've been in the scene for over 20 plus years, she was like, oh, my brain was completely ignoring these, right? And I always say, if you have a choice to think thoughts that make you question your worth, make you believe that you literally have no future and your life is going to be this boring, small existence, that you'll have to feel like poop for the rest of your life and question the sanity of humanity for the rest of your life, or choose to think supportive thoughts that remind you of what's available for you, make you feel better about yourself, inspire hope, induce energy. Why won't you choose the latter? Daily miracles that you see around you that other people are having are not creating by some sort of divine intervention that allows you to craft impossible things. A daily miracle is you choosing to expand your mindset, which will allow you to stretch the edges of possibility. And when you stretch your definition of what's possible and available, you will also start creating results to match that. And then people will look at you and think, whatever she's doing or consuming, I need to get on that ASAP. Listen, here's the thing. We often like to dramatize and engage in this internal drama and like neatly organize the world into black or white because that is easier to control. That is safer for us sometimes. Black or white, either or, is appealing because it draws us in, it inflicts emotions, and it's addictive. Here I've said it. It's addictive and indulgent. And let me explain you why, because that could sound a little controversial to some of you when I say that it's indulgent to do something like that. When we are busy living out all of the drama inside of ourselves, when I say drama, I mean thought drama, that means that we simply do not have to live or like create authentic life outside of us. We spend so much energy engaging in inner chaos that then we become tired, numb, anxious, and we have nothing to show for in real life except for dissatisfaction, but no results. And there are part of our brains that cannot tell the difference between real life and an imaginative world. So you know why like TV series are so addictive? Because it engages our brain and our nervous system in a way their like mirror neurons get fired up, so we feel really drawn in and busy observing fictional lives of fictional characters that feel real to us and to parts of our brains and nervous system, and they take up emotional and mental energy. Yet it's rewarding because we don't have to move physically. We get access to all kinds of human emotions in the moment. Yet when we finish a season or like TV series, you know that feeling of emptiness that creeps in? The end of series blues or post-series depression, I don't know how they refer to that. So then, instead of engaging with our lives, going back to our lives, being present for ourselves, we're much more likely to look for another series. And this is how we get stuck in not actually living out our potential in our life, but getting emotionally drawn and dragged to all the different places. Even if you look at Netflix, and by the way, no shade, I watch quite a few TV series, right? But for me, it's a very intentional choice. And I also know how much time I even want to spend on it. So it's very limited for me. And it was a journey. It wasn't easy for me to get to that place because in my, early 20s, that's what I used to do a lot. That was a way for me to avoid to deal with life, avoid to adult, right? So what I'm sharing here is just literally scratching the surface of thought work and self-awareness. A lot of you already know all of this. My clients get thought work and belief work one-on-one in the first couple of sessions before we even mention career change, because this is the foundation. Otherwise, we're risking to stay in this literally abusive relationship with our limiting beliefs, including trauma bonding and all. So what do I do then, right? Like the question would be, okay, so how do I help myself out of it? I've been stuck in it for years. What do I do? Here's what you do. Since you've spent years and years getting really good at supporting your negative thought patterns and feeding your fears, a lot of it subconsciously, my offer to you is not to go completely cold turkey and tell you that you just need to wake up one day and completely change your thoughts, because it's impossible. My suggestion is that if you'll be spending time spinning and engaging in that inner chaotic drama, how about start spending just the same amount of time you spent on spinning in negativity on asking and strategizing how everything could work out for you this time? Asking yourself, how are you already worthy? How are you already supported so much? How are you the perfect person to actualize that dream you've been carrying locked up in your heart for all of these years? How is it working already? Start questioning everything, and I mean everything you believe about yourself and your future. So if you'll spend an hour spinning, I want you to spend an hour also engaging in the opposite direction and pulling and accessing the thoughts that would be supportive of where you want to go. Wouldn't that be like fair internal democratic system to give equal airtime for both, right? To help you a little bit, I'm going to share a few examples of a reframe, which is essentially taking a thought that you have and turning it around so it would stop creating that much resistance within you. So one of the most common ones that I hear a lot in terms of the career change is, if I change career, I will be judged by everyone. Okay, so let's unpack this. The first question I want you to ask yourself is, who's everyone? And I think I covered this in one of the previous episodes. I don't recall. I'm very bad. I released the episode and I don't even remember what it was about, but I do believe we spoke about this, right? One of the ways the over-dramatizing manifests itself is by referring to a generalized everybody when expressing your constraint. So when you truly try to name who that everybody is who will be judging you, like if I told you, listen, sit down, write down all the names of people who will be judging you if you suddenly shift careers, chances are you'll come up with 2, maximum 3 people. One usually always includes an auntie that you like see once a year, and thanks to COVID, probably you even see less than that now. The unexpected benefits of pandemic, gotta love it. And sometimes maybe one of them will be like a frenemy or something, like a friend who's kind of supportive, but you feel their silent judgment no matter what you do. So sit down and write down the names. Who will you judge by very specifically? Give me the names. Once you do that and you find people who you know 100% will judge you, ask yourself, what thoughts do you think they'll be having about you? Again, pretty specifically, you can tune into the energy and like try to put into words what you think their judgment is going to be about and what it will sound like. What words do you believe they will think about your career change process and about you? When you have those thoughts, I want you to look at them, read them, and ask yourself, so what? So what that my auntie will think that I lost it because I sold my belongings and I'm moving to an ashram in India for my yoga training? So what? So what that my ex-colleagues will think that I'm a fraud if I suddenly change my career path? So what? People will always have thoughts about you, whether you stay in the lane or whether you start carving out your own path, they will always have thoughts about you. That's what people do. And the less they are focusing on their own life, by the way, and solving for their own authenticity, the more they'll feel inclined to focus on you and share the thoughts about you. Let them. Here's the choice that you have. You can keep them away from focusing on you by leading a small, non-threatening life, or you can make you happy and do you. Listen, I've been coaching for many years now, and a big portion of my old friends still don't accept it or get it. I swear to God. A few weeks back, some girlfriends and I had a Zoom date. So basically, a lot of my friends still live abroad from all of my traveling days, right? And so we connected for a few hours on a Sunday evening, for this little get together. And they asked me how I'm doing. And I said, listen, I'm fantastic. And they said, well, we see you talk about career change a lot. I laughed and I said, yes, because that's my path. That's what I do. I help people with career change. Silence. I look at their faces, I was silent and I was looking at their faces and I was studying. They felt uncomfortable. They don't know what to do with this version of Vilma, sincerely. If I were to go back to the old ways, if I were to complain about the job I hate, if I was drinking and partying like I used to, like I did in my early 20s, blame others for everything that's gone wrong in my life, then they would probably be pleased because that version of me was relatable. They got that version of me because misery loves company. That's what's happening. But a woman who stands in her power, who made her responsible for her future, is uncomfortable, even for those closest to you. So at first, when I just started walking this path and started shifting, I would feel awful because I felt like I was losing connections. I would then, when I would meet with them, I would usually minimize my achievements. I wouldn't celebrate myself in front of them. Even if I had reached some amazing milestones that literally rocked my world, I did not want to be uncomfortable. I felt like my success would somehow, I don't know how, but it felt like it would maybe overshadow them, and I just couldn't have that. I would just dim myself so I'd fit better with the surroundings, so that I would not stand out. I was like a wallflower in every room. And, as I grew more and more comfortable in my skin, and it was a process, right? It's not something that, again, you need to do drastically, but the more you do this work, the more in integrity you live. And I just started letting them be uncomfortable. If they come to me and they inquire, I say exactly how I'm doing. I honor my achievements. And what usually happens? They don't know how to respond. So they usually just change the subject. Now, I'm not saying that everyone in your life will be like that, but because there are many supportive friends and family members, even on my side in my life, but there will be those who would rather have you stay the same forever. Not because they don't want you unhappy, just because it will make you less threatening for them. And it's not mean or deliberate on their side either. It's just human nature. We hate being triggered. So these few people right now, that you have created this unsubstantial vision around that you'll be judged by without even having examined it properly, these few individuals you don't even sincerely, honestly care about are holding you back. That thought that you will be judged by everyone is holding you back. And once you examine and become aware, that's when you can start truly shifting the thought. It will change how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your future, and that will in turn empower the action you can take. It will change how you will take it and how consistent you'll be. Because when we have unexamined thoughts like that, chances are that you are still taking right now some sort of sporadic action here and there. Probably have a super long to-do list that makes you super overwhelmed, but you still feel stuck and you don't feel like you can show up for this work consistently. So to finish this example, one of the questions I'd like you to ask yourself here is, how will you have your own back moving forward, even if some of your loved ones don't come around, or at least they don't come around immediately? Because here's the thing, you may be staying put right now and you're trying to avoid that outer criticism, but what will happen if you continue down this route? While you will be avoiding the outer criticism, your inner criticism will be getting louder and louder. Because not walking your own path is painful. Much, much, much more painful than dealing with a few outraged or confused people from your circle that are probably not even your people anyway. So what thoughts will you choose to think intentionally, on purpose, to support you through this journey? So I shared with you just one of the ways how to unpack one thought. You have so many more thoughts surrounding about career change. So the first step would be for you to analyze each and every one of them in a similar fashion. What I often ask my clients to do is do thought downloads, where they will take a topic, they'll sit down and literally just do like a brain dump of everything they're thinking around this topic. A lot of the time you'll find thoughts you did not even know you are thinking. This is why this work is so powerful and so magical, right? And once you have those thoughts, take them one by one and start analyzing. And when you do that, when you truly understand just how much they're affecting you, that's when you can start shifting and literally installing new thoughts that are supportive so that you could start rewiring those neural pathways and shifting how you're responding to everything that's happening around you. So I'd like to share with you a few examples of the thoughts that I personally find supportive. And if when you hear them, you like them, or there's something that resonates within you with them, I want you to steal them and use them in your daily life. Just literally have a list of them and read them in the morning, for instance. So here are a few thoughts that you can try out for size. It's safe for me to take up space. I'm worthy of a career that provides me with meaning and financial abundance. I have gifts, talents, strengths, skills, and values that are unique. And a combination of these can earn me a lot of money. My work matters. I'm allowed to explore and try out things that is all part of me discovering my aligned career. Nothing has gone wrong. I'm on my way home, and it feels so good knowing that I'm getting closer and closer every day. I have a purpose, and my job is to find it and actualize it. The rest will fall into places in the perfect order and timing. I choose to stay in the miracle of life. The only limits I will face are the ones I have set for myself in my head. I'm endlessly resourceful and creative. I can find my way out. I have done it before. I'm supported beyond measure and comprehension. I'm magic, and it's safe for me to claim what's mine. Again, these are just a few. I could go on and on and on and on. One of my super talents is creating supportive thoughts. But listen, here's the thing. These are not empty affirmations. I want you to only select thoughts and literally go out for a hunt for these thoughts that give you that little bit of burst of energy when you hear them or you read them, that make you feel alive for a moment. And these are the thoughts that you need to keep and install. This is getting really long. I'm looking at the recording and I see just how long it is, and I try to keep my episodes pretty short, which is not the case with this one. So I think what I'll do is actually I'll do a part 2 or maybe even a part 3 of this topic, as this alone, you truly seeing just how much your beliefs have been affecting everything, and then having the tools how to shift them is everything. So that moving forward in the future episodes, when I speak of supportive thoughts, when I mention thought work, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And I can promise a lot of like real life, super legit constraints that your brain has been rationalizing, are just unexamined thoughts. I promise you. And as per usual, if you need support and you need guidance in unpacking all of this and then designing a perfectly aligned career path for you, there's a link in the show notes to schedule a consultation call with me. I've actually been receiving a few questions as to what happens on this first call, so I thought I'm going to answer it here. The purpose of this first call is for me to be able to learn more about you, about your background. I need to ask some clarifying questions so I could understand your situation better, identify your main constraints, and already give you some feedback and direction for the next steps. On this call, I'll also share my process and the results you can expect working with me. Above all, we just laugh a lot, we connect, and we go deep right away. Because I said it many times, the world needs your light right now, not yesterday. So if you're resonating with my content and have been considering working with a coach, use this opportunity. That first call is free of charge, and I don't bite, or at least not in the first meeting. Anyways, this was my introduction to thought work. I'm going to come back with part 2, and I wish you the most amazing week, and I'm going to speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for spending time with me today. If you like this content, make sure that you subscribe to my podcast and leave a review. And if you know anyone who is going through a career change, make sure you share the podcast with them. Every little counts.